Hello, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Wendy.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Brown
Brown
Space.
Space.
This is a safe space where we talk about the hard topic of racism.
And build empathy through the healing power of conversation.
Thank you for joining us. Because she had that opportunity to be received, then the next time she does it, it will be better and she will grow and cause someone else to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I really appreciate how bluntly you defined being an ally, someone who pushes. Because I actually empathize with her fear of wearing the T-shirt that says Black Lives Matter. Um, I would have to analyze that. If I were going to go to an event that is commemorating Juneteenth or or Martin Luther King Jr. Day, would I be afraid to wear a T-shirt that says Black Lives Matter? Um, every situation is unique, and every location, and every individual, and so the reason I'm touching on this is actually because I really do relate, um, and I want your opinion, both of you. And I want people to write in their comments in the YouTube. Tell me what you think about this. So I was on TikTok yesterday, and someone I follow is this wonderful artist who was talking about a crow bird, who followed him on his dog walks and had been doing so for a week. And I would never choose this name for anything because the history behind it resonates with me and my empathy. But this is the second time in 2 years that I have heard people do this. He named this crow Blackie. Does that bother you? And will you speak to it? Because I think it's innocently and ignorantly done, but we need to take the blinders off, maybe?
Was it a black crow? See, that's this
Why?
language.
Tell the well-meaning white people why Blackie is not such a nice thing to name a black cat or a black crow or a black dog or anything at all.
So, my perspective is going to be slightly different than yours. And I'll tell you why. I have realized that, okay, I know that language is very important. You know, the way we talk about things, the way things are named, super important.
Mm-hmm.
But language is also one of those things that you can't just change overnight, right? Like, and now I know that anything that's black is the evil thing, the black sheep,
Mm-hmm.
blackmail, black hole, all of these things that are scary and sometimes negative and not good. And then you've got white for everything that's seemingly pure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we would love to say, how about we stop calling it blackmail or black hole? But this is language. You can't be changed overnight, right? No, so in as much as it bothers me, it is something that I have, because I love language, decided not to put so much effort into it because it is one of those things that I do not know that I can make a change in, right? Like, even if I were a linguist, I don't know how much change I would be able to make because it's a language, it's universal, and we can't change it overnight. Or, I mean, there's nothing much that we can really change overnight when it comes to racism. But
It's true.
I feel like with language, it's so much harder. Now, I can say, don't use the N word, that's different. But to try to get people to say, don't name a black thing Blackie, it's harder because What is the rationale, right, behind it? Now, it may be uncomfortable to you, or maybe to a person, to a black person, or some other person of color somewhere. But what is the, like? What would you say? Don't name them black, but they are black. It's a black thing. Don't call it blackie, but it's a black thing. What do you want me to say,
I don't
right? Like
think
it.
you'd call a lizard greenie. I don't think you'd call a white cat whitey. I mean, I just am like, why is blackie a word in our vocabulary? And historically, I have an opinion about it. But before the white girl weighs in, what do you have to say, Sharon?
Well, I'm kind of in the same train thought of on the same train as Jocelyn in that I think it's a mindset more than anything else, and we just have to be cognizant and mindful of our own self um, analysis of how we see that color, right? I think our very first episode, we talked
Yeah,
about that, right?
yeah.
So for me, if someone named their doggy Blackie, it doesn't bother me because it's a black dog, because I know what black means to me, the color black, and that it is the most powerful color, right? So my mind is conditioned that way. I don't automatically go to the historical context of it. And as Jocelyn pointed out, now, if it is a negative connotation, such as the N word, that we know that is just, it's horribly denigrating, then that's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But my mind doesn't switch to that when someone names their pet whatever. I would probably do it if it was a really my daughter has a pit bull and he's like pitch black. She calls him coal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we know that coal is like before
Yeah.
diamond. It's But that's my vernacular, that's my family, that's my inner core of who I am and who my family members would be. So it's a mind thing, and it's growing out of that negative connotation of a color.
I hope so. But I have a question for both of you. Neither of you was born in this country or reared with the United States mentality and specific history. So I wonder, A, is that the main difference here with my discomfort? Or B, is it also because I was raised in the South? And C, is it because I'm white? Am I being hyper paranoid? So I'm super curious about this because to me, it harkens back to plantations, slavery, and, you know, the white people calling dark skinned people blackies and darkies. And that is just makes my mind want to explode. um, but I would be super curious to, like, anybody who watches this and wants to weigh in, I wonder, am I being super paranoid and I need to make that shift the way you are in language? Or is it also because both of you were born elsewhere and raised elsewhere? I don't know. It's an
It's a
interesting question.
possibility. It's a possibility, and we touched on that difference between being of African descent,
Hmm.
as I am, I'm African Caribbean,
Hmm.
or from an African country versus being an African American.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Okay. I know that. Okay, here's the thing. Even sometimes, even if you're not born in the United States, when you make your way here as a black person, being black is what you are. You are black. And so, especially if you can sort of pass, you are black. And so, you have to understand the history to be able to live
That's true.
peacefully as you can, as a black person in the country, right? And so, um, I know that the word blackie is offensive, but I don't think too many people know. I only know it because I was doing research for my capstone, my poetry capstone, and that came up. Now, part of it, I think maybe because you were from the South, right? My
Mhm.
professor, she was also a Southern girl, and so she sort of knew that. And so that's how I came to know about that.
Mhm.
Now, I know many people do not know that. And so I think when maybe they saying blackie, it's just this thing's black, right? It's not the racial connotation. And then there's the other part of it where you said, is it see? It's just like that you're white and you're seeing everything. I think that there is a tendency that when we are really developing an awareness of an issue, that we tend to overlook or
We're sensitive.
yeah, right. There's a very deep sensitivity to
Yes.
everything that touches on that issue. And so I wonder if that may be part of it, just that sensitivity to it and the awareness. And now that you're really, I don't know how long you've been doing this work, Wendy, but because you're doing it and things have come to a head in this country and you're really working on it, there is that sensitivity as well, probably, where
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
I know this and it drives me crazy. I was sort of like that too when I really, was learning things. I think when Ferguson happened, that was like really when things opened for me in this country. Because Ferguson's like, right, it's our back door here in Elsa.
Yep. Yes.
So,
It's right
um,
here.
and I was everything, every little thing I had to push for every detail. And then, I had to finally figure out you have to pick your battles.
Mm.
Um, Blackie's not, someone naming their thing Blackie, chances are they don't know. And even if they did, I'm fine with it. Like, I am one of those people who says, I am fine with someone who's racist and overtly makes me understand that they don't like me because I'm black. I can deal with that.
Mm.
It's the other underlying racism
Sleepers.
that's, yeah, exactly, that's
Explain
hidden that
that.
I
How? How can you deal with that? Explain that. And then what's the difference?
I think it's just
Huge.
I know what you think and I can have a conversation with you as a black person or not. I
Mhm.
can choose to stay out of your way because I know I can see what you think of me, right? But when I cannot tell what you think of me, or I cannot do anything like systemic racism, where I mean, I can't do much other than maybe call, and say we'd like change or sign a petition or go out and walk and hope that the state's people make whatever changes they're going to make in Congress or wherever, right? Like those are the ones that are more difficult for me because I don't know where you stand.
Yeah, and I think that
Mm.
also that microaggression piece plays a big part in that.
Hmm.
Because if someone comes right out and is very, very clear about how they feel
Mhm.
about you, two things: either they're just extremely ignorant, and do you want to take the time, right?
Mhm.
Or um, is it that they're we had that whole lack of awareness talk before versus ignorance, and but yet they are um, you they can grow, they have the potential
Mhm.
to grow. All right, so you know that's the thing. And then but when you don't know and you're like new to the room, or you've been in the room all the time but you can sense it because of the microaggression
Mhm.
or things that are said, or all of that professionally or personally, that's that's a hard thing, harder thing to deal with than
It kind
Yeah.
someone.
it kind of gets into um it's almost like I would draw a parallel to a dysfunctional relationship where there's a lot of manipulation, where you can't
Mm.
really call it out because it's not overtly attacking you, but it is undermining you. And then if you say something, they'll be like, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I was just joking, or how
Hmm.
people deflect and gaslight. So I get it now.
Yeah.
I get the distinction you're trying to make. I'm going to have to chew on that and
Yeah.
play it out in my mind, and imagine things for a while to like really understand it more deeply. But yeah, wow.
Or like, a sundown town. I know I'm not going to be there past, once the sun's setting, I'm not going to be there as a black person. But then there are other cities or towns that are not sundown towns.
Hmm.
But the racism is rife there, right? Like they murder black people, they lynch them, and all that, because this is the present day society. This is still what happens. But because you do not know, and that society appears to be so nice and welcoming,
Mm.
that's more terrifying than that sundown town to me, because I know how to take care of myself. I'm like, I'm not gonna be here,
I like that.
right? I can walk away. But if I don't
Exactly.
know, I cannot do anything
Yeah.
for my safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which actually leads my brain back to this dear gal who talked to you in the restaurant yesterday, Sharon. Um, I mean, so in our privilege as white skinned people, we're never in a sundown town. And if we put on a t shirt that says Black Lives Matter, suddenly we are. So
Mhm.
I totally empathize with that, because I'm going to call myself out now. The reason I wanted to talk to you about the crow being named Blackie is that I sat there for like 5 minutes and wrestled with myself. Do I gently, kindly say that's maybe not the best name for this, and like posting it very publicly? And I read through the comments and like nobody saw it. And that's why I thought maybe I was being super sensitive, like you pointed out, Jocelyn. Um, that maybe I am. And on the other hand, I was like, I still have trouble. There's one time that I've said something to somebody on TikTok like, I don't think you mean this, but this is actually derogatory. I know you don't mean it this way because I can understand where you're coming from, but this is how it actually comes across. And I've done that once. So then when you define an ally as someone who also pushes, yeah, it's hard to push, because then we put ourselves, guess what? In your shoes, which, guess
Mm,
what, friends, is not so comfortable all the time.
yeah.
I
And,
think
we need to.
sorry.
I'm done.
I think this kind of ties into what we were talking about a few days ago about that ability to recover because you're covered, right? Remember that when we step out or choose not to step out and be in those uncharted places, when we do that as a Black woman or Black person, um, that's a big risk because we may recover or not recover from it
Mm-hmm.
because we've taken that chance. But for someone who, like you, Wendy, if you step out or not and you take that risk, you still have your whiteness. Which is a privilege, and it's your security blanket,
It is a
right?
security blanket.
Yeah, you can always recover from it because the systems are set up for you to recover quicker and better.
Yeah.
Not so much for us. It's a chance.
Yeah.
It's a risk.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning a lot every time we talk. I'm seeing the realities more. Wow. So,
You've been watching Brown Space with Sharon and Wendy.
it's been so great talking and sharing here today. We look forward to your comments below, or you can email us at brownspace2020@gmail.com.
Remember, you are the light that gives light to the world.